All right, let's talk about my home state, the state of Illinois, and the idea of disinvestment in downstate Illinois. I'm going to show you a video from a gentleman who I actually follow. I like his content a lot. And he's talking about the disinvestment in downstate Illinois. I want you to read the text at the top of his video and listen to this, and we'll talk about it on the back end.
There's a lot to be said about the disinvestment of places like Peoria because it is long-standing and systemic, and it exists on a scale that not even Chicago can grapple with, even though there are so many places in Chicago that are just desperate for investment. And the disinvestment in so many parts of Illinois really are astonishing, and I have to come face to face with it quite often because I travel around so much of the state for work so frequently, and I go to places like Peoria, East St. Louis, Bloomington, Springfield even. It just really is shocking to see how severe and astonishing and systemic the disinvestment is. And people who live in places like this really have so very few resources and almost no recourse on how to improve their standing in life. And I understand a lot of this really negative sentiment against the powers that be here in Illinois who really feel left behind. And the clean energy transition really is promising, but it is just one drop in the bucket of what I believe we need as a society to really recover from just decades and decades of offshoring, moving resources abroad, and just siphoning off resources from communities such as this, which is why I want to use my platform to talk about it, because the least that I can do is open people's eyes about what I'm seeing and about what can be done to in fact improve the status quo.
Okay, what he's saying there is very accurate. There is not a lot of investment in the state of Illinois outside of Chicagoland, right? These downstate cities like Peoria, my daughter lives in Peoria, East St. Louis, Bloomington, like he was talking about. They're propped up by very few industries being in the area or it being a college town, and most of the money is here in the Chicagoland area. Here's my question, and it's not necessarily directed at him. It's directed kind of in general towards this idea of more money needs to be invested in downstate Illinois. How much more do we need to give them? I live in Will County, Illinois. My county gets back about 67 to 68 cents in state funding for every $1 we put in. That money that we don't get back goes to Southern Illinois. It goes to Peoria. It goes to East St. Louis. It goes to Bloomington. It goes to those counties that are experiencing a disinvestment phase where companies are pulling out and jobs are being, as you talked about, offshore. Those counties are taking in the money that we're generating up here. Cook County gets back like 98 cents for every $1 it puts in. Will County gets back like 67 cents for every $1 it puts in. DuPage County, I think, is the blue ribbon winner in the Chicagoland area for getting back, I think, 37 or 38 cents for every $1 it puts in. And all of that additional money goes to all of those downstate counties. How much more should we be investing in downstate? And you talked about how you can understand their anger at the powers that be in Illinois. Why? The powers that be are giving them what money they do have coming in to keep them alive. The powers that be are sending those counties my tax revenue. My county doesn't get to keep all of the tax revenue I generate for it because those counties need it. I'm sorry. Those counties need to learn how to, in my opinion, pull themselves up by their bootstraps, figure out a way to attract industry to their county, figure out a way to generate more revenue. They don't seem to be interested in doing that. They only seem to be interested in complaining about the Chicagoland area while siphoning money away from us to survive. How much more do we need to give these counties?